Jesus Christ, what the hell did Luffy just do? What the hell did Luffy just do? Like, there's layers to this shit, okay? I'm just going to start off by saying this. Like, I know right now, you know, there's layers to this shit. Oh my God. What the hell did Luffy do? And what is Law trying to do? That's the first thing I got to ask. Because you're playing with one of the 4 emperors' money at this point. You're playing with it. Because it makes you wonder, is Blackbeard one of those emperors who is trying to put together that army that has an army filled with those zone types? What is Blackbeard's endgame? Or is this one of the other emperors? Okay? But this is wow. Luffy walks up to Caesar after the fact, after Caesar just tells him everything, like Doflamingo is basically selling to one of the emperors, and you know, he's just showing like, hey, you know, you follow the money, dude, and once you get to the top, you don't fuck with the person at the top level. Luffy just walks up to this guy and very casually, right, just says, that's never stopped me before. And Luffy proceeds to knock the hell out of Caesar. And this punch, to put this into perspective, right, this punch might have just topped that whole Arlong Park moment for me. And if you guys know anything about me, you know Arlong Park, where Luffy puts that hat on Nami's head and then goes to Arlong, says, which one of you guys is Arlong? Arlong looks up and is like, yeah, that's me. What you want? And then Luffy knocks out Arlong. This punch, that is coming very close for me. Very close. Because what Luffy essentially just said, right? What he just said, and with the intensity of the punch, after he already just knocked in the fucking wall. And he used the haki in order to do so. I believe that was the armament haki. Even though he did that, right? Even though he did that, the intensity that Oda drew the punch, that intensity of that attack just shows you what Oda was trying to magnify in that moment. That scene is going to be one that sticks with me for a very, very long time. And what's so symbolic about that, right, is when Caesar is telling him how the world really works, he actually gives him some advice that actually fits into the real world. What that advice is he says, hey, when you keep sticking your nose into the affairs of people who are bigger than you, you're going to get to a point where you're going to piss off the wrong person. And when that happens, bad things can happen to you. You really might want to think this shit out. And he says, like, look, like, I'm the only one who can manufacture this SAD. I'm the only one who can manufacture this. This turns into the artificial devil fruit. I'm the only one who can make it. That's why Law wants to kidnap me. That's why you're working with them. You don't want to fuck with me. And Luffy proceeds to say, I don't care. Well, he didn't say it, but he says it with his punch. He's basically saying, I don't care about Doflamingo. And you can tell this is Luffy saying, after I kick your ass, I'm going to go to Doflamingo. I'm going to kick Doflamingo's ass. And then I'm going to go kick the ass of whatever emperor is feeding money to Doflamingo. Like, Luffy has changed. Luffy has changed. He's always had that moral compass. It's always been there. It's always been there. Even when you go back to chapter 1 with Romance Dawn, and he had the whole thing going on with those bandits from the mountains and everything, right? Even when that was going on, and he heard them berate Shanks, he stood up because it was the right thing to do. He's standing up now because it's the right thing to do. And when you look at it, there's probably so much going into Luffy's psyche at this point, because with Luffy, you got to understand, because of all this posturing back and forth and the affairs and the games and everything that are going on with all the major parties involved, Luffy lost his brother. He lost Ace. Now, I get it. They weren't blood brothers, but they're still brothers. Luffy lost someone dear to him. He lost Sabo because of some bullshit. Like, just small things like this, you know, Luffy is carrying the dreams of both of those individuals. He's got to right the wrongs for everything that's gone on. This is some good shit. And then if you just look at how Luffy has continued ever since we've seen him, from Romance Dawn to every arc after the fact, he has progressively stuck his nose in places where it didn't belong. And now looking back at it, I kind of feel a little bad for throwing as much stuff at him as I did during Marineford, where I said this wasn't his place. It's just that the stakes were so high. I missed one crucial element about Luffy's character. He always sticks his nose in the places where it doesn't belong. He always does it. That wasn't a one-time thing. He always does it. In fact, that's usually how he gets somebody in his fucking crew, is he's meddling, he's dicking around where he doesn't need to be. So, I mean, that was telling. I like how, just like with this entrance, right? In this entrance, Luffy collapses the wall when he does the haki, right? And he has that huge, I believe that was the elephant punch that he used back in Fishman Island. But when that happens, right? Excuse me, but when that happens, Luffy walks over to Brownbeard, basically pats him on the head, says, I got this shit. You chill out for a second. That's, oh my God, like Luffy did the damn thing in this chapter. I didn't want to do it this way. I did not want to review this chapter with me just wanking Luffy off, right? I didn't want to do that because I don't know everything about One Piece, but I do know that there is a lot of Luffy wank in the community. I know that much because I remember when Naruto was still running and One Piece was just blowing up in popularity, right? And I want to say, like, I started really seeing One Piece like comments and One Piece versus Naruto flame wars and everything probably around 2011. And I remember it was a lot of Luffy wank at that point. So I do know that much. But like, it's this moment right here where Luffy being in the new world, I really feel as if Oda just kind of hammered home, like, this is the true tonal shift. Like, Fishman Island was to get you ready for it. Shit just got real right here. And whatever Luffy and Law talked about, Luffy's 120% on board. I don't think that was an instance where Luffy agreed to some shit and didn't fully think things through. I think Luffy thought it through, and he probably knows whatever warlord is backing Law. And so I don't think it'll be Shanks, because if it was, I don't think Luffy would have agreed to it. So it's making me wonder, is the warlord who's backing this, is that Big Mom? I wonder if that's who it is, because that's, you know, with the sweets and everything in Fishman Island, and Luffy said, you know, like, hey, I'm going to kick your ass. I would provide the incentive. So, I mean, this is interesting. This is interesting. I like this. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, you know, in the last chapter, and I didn't talk about it, but in the last chapter, you know, when Luffy, you know, has the dragon, right? And the dragon rises him up and he beats up one of Caesar's men, and he says, like, hey, yeah, where's Caesar? And they point him in the right direction. I didn't really talk about it, and I'm going to talk about it now. I didn't care for that ending, right? I didn't care for it. I felt like that actually was a low point in the chapter. But for this one, when you see Brownbeard trying to convince all of the audience, like, hey, Caesar's an asshole, you need to get away from him, and then Caesar is doing all these underhanded things, and Brownbeard is catching the true realization of everything that happened, for Luffy to arrive like he did and to have Momonosuke or Momonosuke show up and say, like, yeah, that's the guy right there. And Luffy says, don't worry, I know that's Caesar. Just leave this to me. Like, Luffy is on some straight alpha shit. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Luffy, on a scale from 1 to 10, Luffy is alpha. Oh man, that's some shit I would normally say about Zoro, but on a scale from 1 to 10, Luffy is alpha. This was a monumental chapter. And now I see why in the SBS Corner for, I think, 8, the last chapter. Was it the last chapter? Yeah, the last chapter. The one that dealt like with the whole thing with Chopper and all that, right? In the last chapter in the SBS Corner, Oda says, Like I made this volume longer than usual because I absolutely had to have chapter 690 in this volume. So it's letting you know the stage is being set. There's something amazing coming for chapter 690. So I'm like, what the hell is getting ready to happen? And what the hell is the fallout for this going to be? Because this is not one of those moments that you can come back from. This is like Caesar crossing the Rubicon. You know, like when Caesar got to a point where he was about to invade Rome, things changed. He knew there was no coming back. This is that Rubicon for Luffy. So let me know down in the comment section, where does this moment where Luffy punched Caesar rank on your top 5 Luffy moments? Let me know. And where does it rank for your top 5 One Piece moments? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an incredible day, guys.